Good evening, everyone. This is Olivia Hereford. I'm the Regional Director for ICT Digital Media for the BACCC and your BayICT Tech Talk host. And today I'm really excited to bring in a digital media guest speaker. And I'd like to introduce Bharani. I hope I don't butcher this. Rajakumar. Good.
Yeah, perfect.
All
Hey,
right.
everyone.
And I'd also like to introduce now Bharani is on the East Coast, but Chris Johnson, who I'd like to also introduce, is here locally in the Bay Area. He is workforce development for Transfer VR, and so really looking forward to continuing to work with him. Hopefully, things will come out of this talk. So anyway, so I'd like to now turn it over to Bharani, but before we do that, I just want to let you know Bharani's going to, give his pitch, tell you about the Transfer VR and careers in XR VR for about 25, 30 minutes, and then we're going to have some Q&A after that. So please put your any questions that you have while Bharani is speaking in the chat, and we will get to those. Okay. All right. All set?
Yeah. Thank you, Olivia, for inviting us to speak with the group today. And for everyone, we want to keep this as interactive as possible. So feel free, if you have a question, to just post it in the chat, or you can also just shout out, and we'd love to kind of make this interactive. So like Olivia said, I'm joined by my colleague, Chris Johnson, CJ as we call him, and Rick and Holly are also with us, helping us make sure this presentation goes smoothly. So we're going to kick it off with some introductions. And then I think Holly is also going to show a slide presentation when she gets a second. But I'll go ahead and kick things off. So like Olivia said, my name is Bharani Rajakumar. I started this company called TRANSFR Inc. And we specialize in what's knowledge transfer. Basically, you guys probably watch your fair share of video lectures. And what we do is we use virtual reality to immerse people in learning experiences so that they can learn skills while doing things, as opposed to kind of watching a lecture. So prior to starting the company, I actually in Gainesville. I moved to New York City and worked in finance. So you might be asking yourself, how did you, go from finance into the world of virtual reality? And the answer is, I was really focused on trying to figure out a way to help people get jobs. My first job was at Wendy's, and I share that in common with CJ, which he'll tell you about in a minute, I'm sure. And I remember the first time I, got a paycheck, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. My parents worked really hard, but unfortunately we just didn't have a great kind of economic situation. So I had to work from a pretty young age. And I just remember feeling, freedom, being able to, cash a check and go buy movie tickets and go to Cold Stone and buy ice cream on Friday night. And it was like the greatest thing in the world. So after working in New York City in finance for 5 years, I thought I would love to figure out a way to pay it forward. So I went to Carnegie Mellon, where I got my MBA, and I started a company called LearnBop, and that did really well. And then at the same time, kind of heard about virtual reality, mostly as a platform for video games. And I went to a gaming conference in San Francisco called GDC, Game Developers Conference. And I remember playing my first game in virtual reality. It was called Robo Recall. And I just thought this is the most unbelievable technology ever. And I don't think anybody knows what it's going to do for teaching and learning. So I'd like to go figure that out. And so I'm going to share a little bit of that story with you today. But before we do, and then we're also going to obviously try to tell you as much as we can about the VR industry and answer your questions. But before we go down that path, I want to turn it over to CJ to introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks, Bharani. I'll be brief as well. I'm so grateful to Bharani for the opportunity to be a part of his company at Transfer, and really grateful for Olivia that she thought of us as speakers tonight for this crowd. It's been an interesting journey for me. I worked with a company that you're all familiar with there in the Bay Area, Tesla. I was there for about 4 years, and I was in recruiting, and which was kind of an interesting role for me. I've been in sales most of my career, and sales recruiting seemed like a natural fit. At the time, it was a need that they had for an organization that we were building from within, Tesla, and it kind of gave me the bug that workforce development was going to be really important, and I wasn't sure how that was going to play into what I was doing. But when Transfer reached out, it was fun to see the technology being used in a different way than just gaming. And that's, I know what we want to focus on today is how we can use the incredible technologies that we have available to us for both entertainment and also enlightenment or opportunities to better ourselves and to help others as well. And so I really gravitated towards that mission and wanted to be a part of it. It's funny, I my stint at Wendy's when I was 15 years old, I didn't think would ever amount to anything, but it helped me kind of bond with my buddy Bharani here. So you never know where things are going to lead. That's the first time it was beneficial to me. So that and the free Frosties that they gave me. So, but that's me.
Oh, the Frosties are good. You can't put a price tag on that.
That's right. They tried though.
Yeah, right. So like CJ was saying, we were both really attracted to the technology, and certainly, gaming is an obvious area for using it. Just by, I don't know if you guys have access to the chat, or if you want to show your faces and say hello, but how many members of the audience have actually used virtual reality, either to play games or to do the roller coaster or to try a haunted house or anything? All right, there's a couple. Looks like Leslie, Jocelyn, Miriam. I'm missing some names. Tony, cool. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, okay, cool. Like a fair amount of people. Shannon, not yet. We'll get you hooked up soon, I hope. And so, and for those who have tried it, feel free to just paste in the comment what do you think of it. Well, I'll tell you what we found. When starting the company, at the time, people were completely blown away by the experience. It's very immersive. It's unlike anything you've ever tried before. But some people, would get sick. They would put on the headset, and I don't know, CJ, if you heard stories about people just kind of like being like, "Oh no, this is not for me. I don't want to do this anymore."
Yeah, I mean, Kara just commented on that exact thing. Bit of motion sickness. Yeah, it's kind of an odd sensation being transported into some random world or whatever.
Exactly, and so I think one of the things to keep in mind is, technology can evolve really fast. So while in the early days, there were certainly people that just had their doubts about virtual reality and even augmented reality as a technology. You got this big thing on your face, you look silly, who wants to wear that thing? But if you fast forward to 2021, does anybody on this call know anyone who got a VR headset for Christmas? It was one of the hottest items for anyone, in December. And so it's come a long way. And, you've heard the expression, to a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Well, if you're trying to do good in the world, like, you just try to find the good in every technology that you can find. And so I know everyone at Transfer looks at VR as like definitely a fun technology, but we look at it more importantly as a way that we can do a lot of good in the world. And the way that we hope to do good in the world is by enabling someone to put on the headset and actually experience a variety of different jobs, maybe to put on the headset and do like a pre-apprenticeship program, for example. So you get to do the job before you get the job. It's a way to kind of show employers that you can learn skills and that you know what you're doing. And there's lots of different applications for doing good. People are using it for counseling as a way to do telemedicine, for example. Now you've got people kind of putting on VR headsets and healthcare and how to take care of themselves. So the possibilities are really only going to be limited by your imagination, which I think if I'm in your shoes, that's a great place to be, right? Because that means you can have your own ideas of how to use this technology and how to influence the industry as well. I don't know, CJ, what, you used to work at Tesla. So what are kind of the applications that you think, employers would hope to use this technology for, especially a place that's as advanced as Tesla?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's kind of funny because I like the analogy, to a hammer, everything's a nail. So now, for me, when I think of any place and how they would use VR, I just think of it through the lens of transfer. So I'll try to be unbiased, but Tesla is one of the most innovative companies on the planet. And the technology that is brought to the table and consistently being developed is proprietary on almost every front. And it's really fascinating to see the brilliant minds that work on these types of technology and the way that they want to improve upon what is already incredible. And that's one thing that I would think about when looking at this type of technology, as well as especially early in your career, or those of you that are thinking about maybe going this direction with development or your studies. There's just a world that we don't know or understand or can really even imagine that we'll be a part of in even 15 or 20 years from now. I think a lot of it will have to do with virtual reality or AR, right? And so I think that many companies will be able to implement and start developing this type of technology in the coming in a few short years. You'll start to see it as an immersive technology at many companies.
So we'll just give you one example of this, and then try to get to questions as quickly as we can. But we actually met Olivia through the College of Marin, and so we've been working with Alex Jones and the team at the College of Marin, specifically on automotive fundamentals. And so last year was a tough year because of COVID, as you guys know. And what the College of Marin did is they said, hey, we are going to have difficulty getting students access to the same labs, and there's going to be restrictions on the number of people we can have in the same place. And there's all kinds of issues that came up with COVID. And so they approached us to talk about creating a simulation-based training for their automotive program. And so, Holly, if you just play the video, show everyone a little bit of the work that we're doing right in the backyard in San Francisco, in the Bay Area there.
Transfer VR's Automotive Fundamentals provides trainees with immersive, hands-on, simulation-based training experiences to prepare them for work in the automotive field. Transfer developed the program with industry experts to create authentic experiences that introduce trainees to safe working procedures and tools they'll use on the job. After trainees log in, they move at their own pace through the hands-on learning simulations. The simulations allow trainees to gain experience, make mistakes,
turn the compression gauge clockwise,
and build confidence in their abilities. During the instruction, trainees interact with the virtual coach to develop their skills.
Keep turning. Great work.
The trainees then demonstrate their knowledge through hands-on practice. The trainees receive a comprehensive foundation in automotive fundamentals across a broad range of topics, ranging from simple oil changes to brake pad service. Trainees gain an understanding of safety considerations to prepare them for the workplace. Simulation-based training can happen wherever and whenever needed without expensive industry equipment or expert personnel. Trainees' progress data is tracked and is immediately available for instructor review. When a trainee masters all of the simulations, they're ready to demonstrate their knowledge on the job.
Cool. Thanks, Holly. And so there, when you guys think about how do you use this technology, hey, thanks for the feedback there, Todd. You guys think about how to use this technology. One of the things you may ask yourself is where do you even begin? There's so many possibilities, so many options. Certainly you could start from an entertainment perspective. I mean, that's a huge part of the opportunity in VR. We started by thinking about what's a problem that needs to be solved. And what we learned is that there are lots of jobs out there that do not necessarily require a 4-year degree, but they pay really well. And a lot of folks just don't know they exist. And so what we thought is we wanted to help solve that problem. We wanted to help kind of match people to great job opportunities out there with great companies. And we thought VR would be a way to help people, put on the headset and try those experiences. So, the problem you may be trying to solve may not be related to, job training. Maybe, for example, you find that people are bored. And so you want to create like a really fun and exciting experience for them. I mean, that's a problem that's definitely worth solving. But once you kind of figure out the problem, then that can help you kind of think about like, what's the solution to that problem? What's a solution? And there's probably going to be more than one. And then, what I think we would encourage you to do is to test out your theory, test out your solution. So for us, we created a prototype, and we then went around and allowed people to try it. And the very first prototype actually had nothing to do with manufacturing or that stuff. The very first experience we created, you learned how to be a bartender. And so it was kind of hilarious. Like people would put on this headset and, they would learn how to make a daiquiri. And what we learned in that experience is that, it didn't matter what people were learning. They just really enjoyed learning. And that was like a really powerful insight that motivated us to keep going. And I'll tell you, like, it's hard at first. you know, especially when you're dealing with technology, you're going to deal with bugs and delays, and not everything's going to be exactly the way you envision it. But if you keep trying and you keep trying to get better, and you just keep trying to make an experience that that excites people. If you're motivated and you're persistent, like chances are, like you're going to find something that works. So that, that's probably like one of the biggest pieces of advice that I'd give you is just start. Just start, and you're going to learn a lot more by trying something and failing than by not trying. Just by You're going to learn a lot more by trying and failing than by just sitting by a whiteboard and coming up with 100 ideas. Because when your idea kind of meets contact with the end user, that's usually when you get the best feedback. And ultimately for us, we're trying to help people get a job or find a career path and enroll in a 2-year college program, for instance, that makes sense for them. So the way we measure outcomes is we measure the number of people that either acquire the skills and get employed, or the number of people that try and experience and then enroll in a career track. So you can only manage what you measure. And so you want to be making sure that whatever you create, you're measuring some specific outcome, whether it's you're trying to put a smile on someone's face, or you're trying to help them figure out what to do with their life. The more clear you are about what you're trying to measure, the easier it is for you to then go back to your solution and improve upon it and make it better. I don't know, Chris, if you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, that's early in my career. I heard the same thing, that you measure what matters, and the things that you measure always improve. And that was something that just stuck out that you just talked about, is when you're creating something, if you don't have someone that's holding you accountable or helping you with that creation process, then it's really easy to just stop progressing. And that goes with anything. I mean, if you're in your career, if you're in your studies, it's important that you not only measure what matters to you or to those around you, but to have someone that's also holding you accountable as well. I think that's a really big deal. It looked like we had a couple of questions there, Bharani.
Yeah.
Should we do those one away?
I was just answering while you were speaking.
Oh, perfect. There you go. Yep. Okay, good. One question I think I saw was if it was someone that was interested in careers in VR, potentially at Transfer.
What was the question?
I think the answer is simple. We do have a careers page. You can go and take a look at that at careers at transfer.com. Someone that was interested in what we're doing and if we need some content.
Oh, yeah, no, great question. So there's the good news is that this industry is growing really fast. And so we do have job opportunities for a variety of skill sets. Definitely, I mean, we could actually post our email here. If you guys have questions, I'll post my email here right now. If you have questions about job opportunities and stuff, just shoot us an email. We actually work with students. So if there's, if you're a student and you're interested in like product development and, curious about how does a product get made, we actually have students that we work with that do QA testing. QA stands for quality assurance. And so they get to test out any learning, they get to test any learning experience before it ever gets out into the wild. So feel free to, stay connected to us if you're looking for job opportunities. We'd be happy to kind of share what's the latest and greatest. Really appreciate all the positive feedback that you guys are sharing in the comments about how you kind of see this shaping learning. We're going to go through some of these questions right now and just try to answer them because you guys are asking a lot of great questions. I see Alex posted a question, is there support for medical training? So right now we are focused on manufacturing and the skilled trades just because there's over 1 million jobs that are available in that industry. And, we're still in the early days in getting our start, but healthcare is a huge area of opportunity. And so we will be going into that area later this year. One thing that I'll just add, I know we're talking to a group of people who's no stranger to startups. When you're a small company, one of the things that's super important to do is to stay focused. And it is, I've got ADD, right? So like I want to chase every shiny object that's out there. But, that's one of the biggest temptations is you can get spread too thin when you do that. And so I think as a company, our focus is just to be really good at one thing. And then once we've kind of mastered that skill area, we kind of move on to the next thing. There was another question here. Chris, do you see any questions you want to answer or you think we should answer?
Yeah, good question that I think you're starting to hit on already. Just a couple of different ideas. High school biology, being able to dissect frogs in virtual reality so that we're not having to use actual specimens. Ideas of police training simulations, being able to recreate crime scenes and collecting evidence, again, kind of, crime science, a few different ideas there.
Yep. And, so definitely the applications are endless. There's a question here from Laney College. The question is about how employers are looking at XR apprentices, interns, and junior developers. The one thing I would say is that it takes a long time to really master your craft. I would think of becoming a developer, an XR developer, or any kind of developer really, in the same way that you think of becoming an artist. You've got to practice as much as you can, and you're going to learn new things every single day because in the technology space, things just grow pretty quickly, and things are evolving really quickly. For the folks that are interested in apprenticeships and internships and that kind of thing, what I'd say is like what employers are going to look at the most are your projects. So when you're interviewing with a company, one of the first things that they'll ask you is to share your portfolio of projects that you've worked on. They may want to see the things that you've built. They may want to see a video of, the interactions that you created, like you saw in the video that we showed you earlier. You can see like the hand gestures and how people were moving and grabbing things when they were doing the oil change. Those are all things that will help an employer understand where you are in your development process and things like that. So aside from the projects, and I think the other really interesting thing about the products is they say something about you. right? Like you guys probably picked up from this conversation that we are really passionate about helping somebody get a job. But if you were going to create an experience that was more, let's say like a video game, then that would kind of share with the employer that you're really interested in the gaming industry. And so the project that you share is, you know, representative of what you and your interests are as well. The other thing they're going to ask you when you interview is to share a problem that you solved, right? So technology can be tough and it can be frustrating, and you could spend hours debugging and coding, and employers will want to hear every juicy detail of that story. And the more details you have, you know, the more real it is to the person who's interviewing you. The more personal it is, the more they know that it was really something that you worked on and that you helped fix, as opposed to you know, somebody else maybe. So thanks for that question. I hope I answered it.
Another question, Bharani, what in-demand engine are we using for the most part? What kind of learning visual environment? Unity, Unreal?
Yep, good question. So we use Unity, and for folks who are unfamiliar with what Unity or Unreal is, these are gaming engines, and so all the graphics and, you know, interactions and things like that you see are usually built with a gaming engine. One of the great benefits for folks on this call is that you know, Unity's free, and there's tons and tons and tons of lessons out there to help you learn how to become a developer in Unity. The other really interesting thing about that platform is it's not just for virtual reality. Like if you wanted to create a game for your mobile phone, you could use that. You could use that platform for that as well. We use it because the Oculus Quest headset is essentially a mobile device. It uses an Android operating system, and so the Unity platform is just it works really well with the Oculus. Unreal for sure has unbelievable graphics. You know, you probably experienced Unreal gaming engine when you played, if you've ever played video games on your Xbox or PC or anything like that. And it's a really powerful system as well. But for kind of the mobile platform, Unity just seems to be a quick, lightweight type of tool set that you could use. So thanks for that question.
Here's one from Todd. He's curious about how some of the skilled trades folks are reacting to taking training to virtual reality and kind of not away from, but less hands-on training, and what their reaction may be for something that's traditionally been so hands-on.
All right, I'll try to answer that. You know, I think at first, people who are experts in the skilled trade used to look at virtual reality as this, you know, something that doesn't replace actual hands-on experience, which is 100% true. But you know, by show of hands, you know, or chat message, you know, how many people on this call have access to the heavy equipment, like a Caterpillar loader, like those, you know, heavy equipment that you see on the highway when they're building a highway? Or how many people on this call have access to, you know, like a doctor's office right away, right? And so sure, the trade-off is it may not be real, but it's really convenient You can put on the headset anywhere from the comfort of your home while you're in your PJs or in a classroom. And so you can still learn all the procedures and all the knowledge that goes into it. Now, of course, after you learn all those things and your confidence is through the roof because you've got the high score and all that stuff, you would still need to go and physically use the same tools and all that. But I think what a lot of experienced people, veterans, people who are going to retire soon will say is that this is a great technology to engage younger people, right? People who weren't considering an opportunity in manufacturing skilled trades or as a nurse or whatever. Now, when they put on the headset, they can see what those options are like. That helps kind of get employers in the conversation. I mean, employers want to know how to communicate and relate to young people, and so that's a huge benefit that kind of almost outweighs the downside of not being able to feel the heat of a welding machine. I mean, because at the end of the day, if you don't have people who are interested in working in your industry, I mean, that's a much bigger problem to solve. So thanks for that question. Yes, exactly. Thanks, Todd, for that comment. Removing boundaries to entry. That's what we're all about. And I think that's what this technology can do. It doesn't matter what area you're working in. What other questions do you guys have? I mean, just curious to hear from the students. Has this presentation kind of been good so far? Have we been doing a good job of answering your questions? Oh, we got somebody from high school. All right. Thanks, Jason, from high school. What, I'm assuming you guys use a lot of video lectures and online stuff. I mean, how do you guys think, what do you guys think this technology can do for the future? You guys have better ideas than we do, probably. Travel blogs, driver training, a true VR classroom. Has anybody seen the movie Ready Player One?
Yes.
Fantastic.
You ready for the second one?
You know, I'm always wary of sequels.
Yes, I agree. I think only Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings pulled that off.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles.
Or maybe
2.
Die Hard.
Die Hard 2 is great.
Yes.
Terminator 2.
Yes.
Terminator fans on the call.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you said Tomb Raider. I'm going, no. But you said Terminator. Terminator 2 was probably best.
Here's a question.
Todd asked about your background.
Oh, sorry, fire away, Chris. What were you saying?
Todd asked about your background, your virtual Zoom background there.
Oh, so in the background here, we are in a virtual training facility. This is a logistics warehouse, and we have over 100 simulations that span, like you saw, oil chains, this warehouse. You got construction sites, working on robots and troubleshooting robots, and it just goes on and on and on. So I'll hopefully have a different background for the next one.
I had a question about data storytelling. And my question was, I find this topic quite interesting. And is this a kind of real-time data storytelling so that when I'm taking a certification procedure, going through VR training, is it real-time data storytelling on my participation, telling me about all people who have taken this training? And I'm not even sure if that's how you mean it. I just saw it on your slide, and I'd love for you to take a minute to explain it for us.
Sure. So the first thing I'd say is I think the experience is always getting better. So when we first started, it was very linear. So you might make a mistake, and then the digital coach would say something like "try again," right? And that was just like the MVP, as you guys know, the minimum viable product, like just to see how people reacted to that. But as each month goes on, we try to make the experience better and better. And so now the digital coach can give you more specific feedback. So if you make a mistake, it would say, it would tell you an actual action to do. And, eventually we want to get it as close to possible as having an expert professional right there next to you. Eventually it would be great to get to the point where you could ask the digital coach a question, like verbally, like, "Hey, how do I do this?" And it could respond to you. But that, like to your point about data storytelling, that requires a huge amount of data. It requires us to understand across thousands of students, what are the questions they have when they're going through this experience for the first time, what's confusing to them. And that would enable us to kind of help shape the correct response. So it's a great question. What I can say is, just as us humans, it is a work in progress, and it will continue to be a work in progress for the foreseeable future. It's kind of along the lines of like, artificial intelligence, that'd be the dream, to be able to ask it a question and have it, answer every question you have about the specific topic. But it'll be a few years before we get there.
Thank you very much. And I have one last question. Are all the coaches experts, or are there any peers in this training environment that's like a student like me?
That is a phenomenal question. So we do have a hospitality experience where there's multiple people in the same hotel, and they can interact with each other. And so I think what you're talking about is what we've been describing so far is what we call an asynchronous experience, where it's just you and the coach. But certainly there is the ability to create experiences where students can talk to each other, interact with each other, help each other, and coach each other, as you're thinking of. That's not the primary use case today, but certainly if you're talking about creating VR for a classroom experience, that would be a primary use case for sure.
One of the questions that has come up a couple of times, Bharani, is around the VR experience, having the headset on your head and feeling a sense of motion sickness. We don't deal with that much with our simulations, but do you have any thoughts on that in general for VR?
Yeah, we haven't had too many bad experiences like that, or any that I'm aware of. And I think a huge part of it is because, you're not on a roller coaster, for example, or you're not in a car driving down the highway at 80 miles an hour. Because usually when that happens, when you put on the headset, and if like in the headset you're moving, but your body is standing still, like your brain just kind of feels like that's out of whack. That's like not supposed to happen. Because in real life, if you're in the car and you're moving, well, the car is moving with you. But in virtual reality, if you're standing still or sitting still and you're moving really fast, like that just doesn't like make sense to your brain. And so we haven't created experiences like that, which is probably why we haven't had too many complaints about that. There is there are a couple of good questions here. Hang on, there's one question I think we missed. do we have to be good at Unity Unreal to be a content developer? Or can we use similar 3D graphics where we can learn more on the Unity software? That's a good question. You know, I think you know, there are lots of different aspects to this, right? There are folks who are good at modeling in 3D, so creating the 3D graphics and making them beautiful. They are artists, and that's a very important role. Then there are developers who develop the actual interactions. So taking that beautiful 3D object, whether it's the hood of a car and making it pop open, or if you've got a hand and you've got to grab something like a steering wheel. So you would need to know like actual, you would need to know how to develop in Unity or Unreal if you want to create the interactions. And, you know, if you're creating a game or an experience, the interactions are, you know, a pretty essential part of the gameplay experience. So, you know, I think most people aren't like, they don't specialize in both. Like most people specialize in one or the other. So you know, your specialty becomes the graphics and the artwork, or your specialty becomes like, you know, becoming a ninja at development. So that's something that you might want to think about, is like, where do you want to put the bulk of your effort and become an expert? Because, you know, that's one of the best ways to stick out from everybody else, is when you can share your expertise, and companies really kind of key in on that. They want to figure out, what are you the best at, better than anybody else at? So, you know, pick something that you really feel you can excel in. There's a question here about how many employees we have in the Bay Area. We have a couple. Rick, who's on the call with us today, he created some of those beautiful videos. He's actually in the College Marin area. I don't know, Rick, if you want to share a few words about any of these questions and things that you're hearing.
Sure. Yeah, I'm in Marin as well. I'm in Sausalito. Really great hearing people from College Marin talking on this. It's an exciting subject. And right now, I mean, it's really easy to get experience in VR if you're motivated. I mean, both Unity and Unreal have a million online tutorials that, if you can stick with those, are really informative. Unity actually has their main office in San Francisco. And prior to the pandemic, they were offering a lot of great things on site. So, I mean, there's a ton of VR stuff going on here. So it's a great place to get involved with it. And I think, you know, we're just kind of starting to crack what's the term, crack the seal, just starting to get things going with education. I mean, I've been really excited about being with Transfer. I was designing some of the simulations that you saw in some of the videos, and it's just amazing when you're in them. I don't know, I mean, I've obviously drank the Kool-Aid, but I think they're incredibly effective. And one of the things I don't think Bharani really talked about too much, but in these simulations, as you go through them, you have this virtual coach who's, if you get off track, he corrects you. So it's impossible to learn something the wrong way. And I think that's just, it's a great thing. You know, it's so easy to do that when you're watching videos or, you know, in a lot of traditional educational setups. So it's kind of a guardrail for you. And being able to go through on complex situations and being able to master all those different steps is really amazing. So anyway, I'm excited about it. I think it's a great future, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in education in the next couple of years.
Hey, and Rick, you know, Rick also led a startup. So Rick, I don't know, why don't you share a little bit about, you know, your 2 cents and what got you into the VR space?
Yeah, some of you might have been to this place. I co-founded a company that's no longer around, but it was called Nomadic, and we were in San Rafael, and we did have some testing. So we were bringing in students and people from Marin. So you might have gone through that. It was totally entertainment. It was called location-based VR, and what it was is a 30 by 40 foot space. It was a multiplayer game, and you'd put on headsets. It was a zombie shooter, really goofy stuff, but so fun. And anyway, you'd enter this space, and what was unique about it was that we would pair up virtual things, so virtual things in the environment with real world things. So if there was a door that you had to go through, you'd reach out and there was actually a doorknob that you'd feel and you'd open. And it was like being in a movie. It's really hard to explain if you've never done it, but it really felt like you'd walked into a movie. Anyway, it was exciting, but the business plan wasn't very effective. So it's not there anymore. But there's another place called The Void that was also around, and we were kind of similar to that. But it's an interesting, again, it's just another thing in VR that there are so many offshoots happening, so many ways to apply it. It's a really exciting space. So, did anyone happen to go to Nomadic? Just out of curiosity. Right.
I wish I had.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, someone else was asking here about different types of training, and one of the things that we had when people would go through there is, you just see their mind start racing, and we had a number of people from military and police departments and fire departments come through talking about different types of training, because again, this was a very physical type of deal. And even though I wasn't very excited about training police initially, they started talking about how it would be a great type of thing because you could set up hypothetical situations where police would have to use constraint and have to use their brains and not just react spontaneously. And you could set up multiple situations like that where they would have to learn to control their emotions and not do this knee-jerk reaction. So, things like that could be incredibly helpful outside of a gaming situation.
Thanks, Rick. I know we're coming up on time. Olivia, is there anything else you'd like us to cover? I feel like we could talk about this all night. I mean, there's a lot of great questions, and it's been a really fantastic group.
Well, there was one question, and I don't know whether you could address this or not, but there was a question they're asking is how virtual reality might be useful in cybersecurity.
That is a great question. I don't know that I have a great answer to that question. I think we are all still trying to figure that one out.
Well, it certainly sounds like there's an overlap into machine learning, right?
Machine learning is a technology that is definitely used.
AI, machine learning, yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of like security, like securing people's privacy, I mean, that's obviously an important thing. Like, data privacy is just such a massively important topic these days. And so in terms of using cybersecurity expertise to protect people's information, what are they using? What are they looking at? How they're using it? That would be obviously a really important theme going forward, just like it is with your mobile phone or any other computing device.
Any other questions from anyone else before we wrap up? We got about one minute.
There's a question here that I will not be able to answer, but I think somebody from the audience will. Question is the XR certificate program at Laney College or MCC taught online?
Hi, I thank you for asking that question. I am the XR faculty lead at Laney College and the founder of the XR lab at Laney College. Yes, it is completely taught online this semester. We teach students how to make XR apps. And so it is a production course. And so you there's a virtual reality course and an augmented reality course, and we actually issue you the equipment, headsets and development phones to build an app. And our mini certificate, our XR certificate, is issued by Unity itself. And so we have a special relationship. They're our tech partner. And so they have a curriculum that is designed specifically for a credited situation. It is different than the curriculum that you find online at learnunity.com, which is really, really good. A curriculum for anybody that wants to just sort of start dabbling in it. This is a very sort of hardcore one that set up by Unity with certain levels of expectation, milestones, and with client prompts. And you do have to create a portfolio piece to their specs. And so that's what we teach at Laney, and that's AR and VR. And that's Unity. In terms of Unreal, we also teach virtual production, as I am an Unreal Virtual Production Fellow for anybody that's interested in creating cinematic and film production. But for AR and VR, we are Unity based, and it is online. Yes. Thank you. I've included in the chat, I uploaded a information about the our flyer and information about our AR and VR program, and I'll post those links again in the chat. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to explain what we do at Laney College. What you guys do at Transfer is fantastic, because these are the kind of jobs that our students would love an opportunity to apply for internships and apprenticeships. And it just shows how creative you guys are at Transfer VR to really tap into a market and realize the potential for training and enterprise potential with XR technologies. It's limitless. And I really applaud you guys at Transfer for just having the foresight and just being ahead of the curve, because you are really tapping into a multi-billion-dollar industry, second only to gaming. So, and way more important. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much for that feedback. And Olivia, thank you for inviting us to speak to the crew today.
Yeah, and thank you so much for involving your whole team. That made this go exceptionally well and smooth. Thank you so much. And everyone, this meeting, this talk will be recorded. And it sounds like, since there's such a lot of good info in the chat, I'll make sure that we include and make that accessible as well. So thank you so much again. And I'm really excited about the turnout here, because I really want to do more, put more digital media and arts media entertainment topics on our schedule. So if any of you have any questions, or not questions, if any of you have suggestions, I think most of you probably already have my email. I'm putting it in the chat now. Would love to get your ideas about future talks. And we'll track it down. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Olivia. Thanks, Bharani.
Thank you.